From the land of Adi Shankacharya, Kerala. Here it's almost 7:10 in the morning. I'm highly thankful to Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America for this excellent initiative of Bharatiya Itihas lecture series. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to Aruna Sharma ji for giving me this rare opportunity to interact with you all. Shivram, Sitaram ji, and all the learned noble souls present here. Though I am not an expert in the field of ancient Indian political system, just a learner, student myself, I will try to be as lucid and explanatory as possible. Before I start the talk, let's join hands in prayer. A hymn from Rigved, Ano Bhadra Kratvo Yantu. Let the noble thoughts come from all sides. The topic for today's talk is Kingship as Rajdharma in Mahabharata, revisiting the Shanti Parva with contemporary perspective. This is also my paper. I have published it while pursuing PhD. And I'm trying to revise it, and I hope you all will like it. And after my talk, I would invite your suggestions, and we will engage in discussion also. In this paper, I have tried to find, locate, understand, and narrate some aspects of good governance discussed at length in Shanti Parva of Mahabharata, with special reference to kingship. The paper also tries to understand ancient polity with contemporary perspective and undertakes to peep into details of structural as well as functional aspects of Indian political system. The identification of Rajdharma in ancient Indian thinking was only through identify institutions that was structure of the political system. State is the first institution to be recognized in any political system. Hence, it has a central place in the circle of the political systems. The king is expected to possess and harness knowledge of the amount of vidya, the extent of willpower, the momentum of mental effort, and the capacity of physical strength of his people. Thereby, they all four are called Purushartha Chautashtiya. For carrying out his part, the king has to ascertain and acquire within his fold valid knowledge through the methodology of Shravan, Manana, and Nidhyasana. These are Shravan is listening, Manana is thinking, and Nidhyasana is grasping the knowledge. The king is in this moral position due to his attained knowledge to stipulate, validate, and regulate the dharma of all the citizens in his state. This authority of designating and demarcating the specific dharma of particular being in the state is achieved by the king not only by authority but also through diligently performing his own dharma. This fundamental idea is the basis of the legitimacy of the authority of the king. Therefore, Rajdharma, according to ancient Indian intellectuals, is not an authority but a unique individual property that has to be attained by the king through systematically sustained efforts in the path of achieving welfare of the people by absorbing and adhering to his own dharma first. This only is the gateway of good governance, which has traditionally been termed as Sukham. The contemporary pressures of real politics have also produced a substantial section of Indian intelligentsia, which has, under the impressions of academic hegemony of English speaking and writing West, inculcating in themselves a deep sense of sheer disregard and indifference, disbelief, apathy, hostility, and criticism for anything that could be associated with ancient India. This scenario is perfectly comfortable and convenient for those who find it hard to go through the ancient Indian writings because they are primarily and largely written in Sanskrit, which has a very strict scientific grammar compared to other languages. This has also led the Indian academia to essentially believe that any endeavor to look into our ancient past is purely futile. Leaving apart the political aspects of this attitude of Indian academia, the greatest loss incurred because of this could be seen in the field of serious research, specifically in the fields of social sciences. Though it cannot be argued that ancient Indian writings possess emphatic and all time solutions to all the contemporary conflicts that are happening in the society, yet it can be stated that serious studies of ancient Indian works and literature with social science viewpoint would definitely be able to provide us with better understanding of the Indian mindset, and thereby it can be proven very efficient and immensely helpful in shaping our socio-political values and institution, specifically in an indigenous manner. This is there is very interesting anecdote in the 23rd chapter of Shanti Parva in Mahabharata. After the great war was fought in the Kurukshetra, Yudhishthir finds that he is the king of the state, which is carved upon the dead bodies of millions of warriors, his relatives, and great people of that time, thus leaving behind thousands of widows, orphans, dead people. This aftermath of the bloodshed of the war creates a sense of alienation in the mind of Yudhishthir. He expresses his wish to renunciate everything, his kingship, his home, everything, and goes to the forest for the tapasya. But then Bhishma intervenes, and he tries to stop Yudhishthir, and they tell him to forget everything, all the results of the war, and he should get into action as a dutiful king, because he has some kind of responsibility, dharma, towards his the citizens of the state. Finally, Vyas, he narrates a story to him, uh, which includes two brothers, Shank and Likith. So these two brothers, they were hermits. They had two separate ashrams. So both the brothers, they were involved in hard worship and tapasya. Once Likith visited the ashram of Shank and saw a number of trees loaded with ripe fruits. Keeping in mind that the ownership of the ashram belongs to his brother, Likith started eating all the fruits. When he was eating and enjoying those fruits, his brother Shank came and saw him. He asked, "Where did you get these fruits from?" Shank answered that these are from your ashram. But then Shank asked that you have not sought my permission to eat these fruits, and thus you have committed theft. Then Likith says that how can I repent it? What can I do compensate this position? Then Shank suggested that you are guilty of theft. The duty and authority to punish the thieves rest in the king. You must approach the king, tell him the truth, and ask him for deciding your punishment. Likith obeyed his brother, and he went to king and narrated the whole story. Primarily, the king thought that Likith has already made a confession about his theft, and he is already a hermit. there is no punishment as such required for him. Still, Likhit insists that king should perform his duty and role, and he should award some kind of punishment to him. Then finally, king orders to cut the hands of Likhit. Likhit, after receiving the punishment, he again returned back to his brother, and he asked for his forgiveness. Then Shank says that he has nothing against him. Likhit has violated the rules of Dharma, and the king was only the deciding authority to fine or to punish him, and he doesn't has anything against him. Now, when you have already received the fine, the punishment for you already what you already did, he, with his brother, went to a river and asked him to bathe in the river. When he returned from the river, he has his both pairs of hands with him. So through his spiritual powers, those hands were regenerated. So in near Chhattisgarh, still we have this river, Bahu Danti, it's called. Bahu means hand, the rivers that gives you back your limbs. So this river is still there. It's a little anecdote that we found in Shanti Parva. So the moral of the story is that everybody in the society has a specific dharma. They have to perform some rules that are specified to them. And any violation of the rules is against the norms of the society, and therefore requires punishment from the authority designated for that specific purpose. It is argued that there are traces of political thought in ancient India even before systematic knowledge of Rajdharma came to light in the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata. According to Mahabharata, it is the duty of the king to seek and promote the welfare of its subject. The king must be compassionate towards people of all sections of society and must fully concentrate on the welfare of the people. There are certain characteristics which a king must possess. Those are intellect, renunciation, awareness of the weakness of the enemies, good looks, capacity to be fair and just to all the subsections of the society, quickness in decision making, softness in his behavior, industrious, hardworking, farsightedness, and indifference to self pride, and the most important, control over anger. These all properties, these all guns, they are mentioned in the 30 and 31st slok of the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata in the 5th part. The king should also assume different roles according to the various situations and according to the need of the hour. When needed, he should act as a merciless king while destroying his enemies, on the path of justice, inflicting punishment upon the wicked, bestowing rewards upon the good, fining the offenders. The first and foremost duty of the king was to protect life and property of the people from all kind of invasions and violations. Then his other role was creation of an environment where righteousness prevails in the state. A king who is incapable of protecting the people is considered useless. The restraint of dharma can only facilitate the conditions for the prevalence of righteousness and the promotion of material well-being of the people, which is the primary duty of the king. The king should be wise and courageous. Only then he can make the earth habitable and comfortable for all the people. While requesting Bhishma to suggest him certain ways of good governance, Yudhishthir himself says that Rajdharma is all comprehensive. It is inclusive of Trivarga. Trivarga is Dharma, Artha, and Kam. The three things that you must remember while pursuing your life. Trivarga. So only Rajdharma is able to control the world and keep the people under the restraint of Maryada. Maryada prevents the general people from committing the sins and wrongdoings. Bhishma says that one should come under the guardianship of a king first, and then only he should aspire for a wife, family, and wealth. Because when there is no king to protect him, there will be no security for his wife or his wealth and property. Bhim, he enlists a list of gurus, the main propounders of Rajdharma that were existing before him, such as Brihaspati, Vishal, Shukra, Indra, Manu, Bharadwaja, Baushira. These are some of the gurus that were present before the times of Mahabharata. Brihaspati says that whatever dharma survives on the face of the earth is all because of the omnipresence of the king. It is his presence which prevents the people from disdainfully killing each other, from creating a havoc in the society. The property, sons, daughters, vehicles, jewelry, clothing, house, wealth, all of these are secured from the dacoits and robbery only when there is a able king who is performing his duties and providing good conditions of living and security, proper administration, welfare policies, and judicious participative decision making. He has to make necessary arrangements so that people may not deviate from the path of dharma. Where agriculture is flourishing, business gets boost, social rituals are heartily performed, and moral bindings are adhered to. Students are indulging in studies, hermits are peacefully devoted to tapasya, justice prevails, fearlessness proliferates, violence diminishes, and all is good in the society. This all is termed as yogakshem, the overall welfare or good of the population. Yogakshem. The king should employ efficient, intelligent, and visionary people to ascertain and ensure that the truth prevails while doing justice, because the state can only remain intact and rooted when justice is served to each and every citizen. If the king commits wrongs and sins, Dandaniti may get destroyed, and therefore Rajdharma is not existing in those situations. The king is the lord of the people. If he performs his duty of properly deputing his populace into their respective dharma and protecting them, even the gods do not defy him. At the same time, Mahabharata strongly condemns anarchy. It prescribes for the people of kingless state to welcome any invading king, because the anarchy is the most grave sin on the earth. Anarchic state has no security for its citizen, property, wealth, poor people, or weaker sections. Rajdharma of the king includes fighting war for the protection of the population, being compassionate for the living creatures, knowing the public behavior, providing security to the people, eliminating the problems of the subjects, and reducing the plight of the masses. The king, by providing better conditions of life, facilitates building up a fearless society. Mahabharata explicitly sanctions revolt against a king who is oppressive or fails to perform the functions of protecting his subjects. That ruler is no longer supposed to be a king and should be killed like a mad dog. This is 64th shlok. Seven parts of the state or limbs of the states are mentioned in Mahabharata. State constitutes of seven parts. Rajan, Mantri, Kosh, Dand, Mitra, Rashtra and Nagar. These seven together constitute a state headed by a Raja. Bhishma prescribes five assistants of the king. Interestingly, one of the most important assistants among these five is to be one who acts according to the dharma and is not biased. He who behaves impartially, does not divert information, and never involves himself into wrongs. This emphatically makes clear that the suggestions to the king must emanate from people whom the king can have immense trust and faith in. The king must be very cautious and careful in appointing his councils. Their qualities as well as functions and duties have been discussed in quite detail in the various chapters of the Shanti Parva. The king has been directed to appoint people of caliber, integrity, reason, compassion, constraint, efficiency, reliability, fairness, and knowledge as his council. And these councils should be assigned duties according to their particular skills and specific intentions. The main source of income of the king are described as 1/6 part of the income of the population. Fair calculation of the yield, fines, fortitudes upon offenders, traders and merchants in the return of protection guaranteed to them. The taxes should never be imposed unjustly or unreasonably. Therefore, the overall happiness of the subject, strict adherence to dharma, and sincere behavior are the main duties of a king. The king must be vigilant enough to protect his kosh. Kosh is treasury. Because if the kosh is not kept safely and securely, the king is doomed to vanish. The king should employ persons of proven intellect and renunciatory approach into the main box of the duties of the state. King should collect revenue from the 1/6 income of the people by imposing appropriate, reasonable, and bearable taxes by various financial institutions, and also punishing the defaulters and criminals, and then in remuneration or to reward the protecting traders. By collecting taxes from the population as per the instructions of dharma, the king is directly governing the state for the welfare and well-being of the subjects. The king should involve all the population to follow their respective duties and instruct them to perform the functions that have been assigned to them. Even the king does not possess any of these specified qualities only by protecting his people from any kind of physical, moral, and economic aggression. The king can fulfill his duties. The king should employ spies at various places for ascertaining and having full knowledge of the activities of the enemies. He should depute spies, and he has to make sure that these people, they have his full faith. The secret information of the state should never be diverted to those who are liars, suspicious, idiots, or greedy. The decision of the cabinet must be disseminated throughout the state so as to appraise all the citizens about the decision of the state council and invite their suggestions and feedback. so that critical remedial measures could be taken later on. We may find this interesting in contemporary days of right to information and seeking transparency in democratic decision making as a precondition of good governance, that the ancient Indian king is being mandated to procure public opinion on official decision making. The king should punish the offenders in consonance with the intensity of their of, offenses. If the offender is rich, then he must be deprived of his wealth. If he is poor, then he must be sent to a jail. The qualities of all kinds of functionaries of the state, like messengers, gatekeeper, bodyguards, and chief of the army, have all been dealt with great details in certain sections of the Mahabharata. The functionary of the state should be assigned roles according to their ability and skills. The rule must never be violated because this may lead to inefficiency, causing anguish amongst the subjects. Mahabharata specifically talks about the ills of nepotism, that the first priority should be merit, ability, and skills. The power and authority of the king designated by him, is designated in him by the God himself. And the king has come into existence only for the protection of the people. The people in the kingdom and the king are complementary to each other. Therefore, in case of any kind of emergency, they must protect each other. Where the public and the visitors to the state are unhappy and anxious about their living, there the king is condemnable. The king has to carry the load of running the subjects properly, such as the bull carries the bullock cart. A king without force and power is worthless because he will lose all the coach treasury, and if he has no coach, there will be no army. And if there is no army or sena, there cannot be any state. So therefore, the king must regulate.
Okay.
Therefore, the king must regulate such norms for the people in his state, which are not only binding upon them, but also makes them happy and contented. The king should remain immensely involved in the well-being of his subject and be prepared to do anything possible for their protection. All the duties of the king should be performed according to the provisions of Dharma, which are to be respected in every kind of situations, not only by the king, but also by the subjects themselves, the citizens. The good done by the public through adherence to the principles of Dharma would be added to 1/4 part of their good performances, good deeds by the king himself in the later life. The secret information of the state should be shared with such people who are very dear and close to the king, who are knowledgeable and have extraordinary control over their senses. It has been prescribed that the cabinet of the king should contain 4 Brahmins with knowledge of Ved, 8 Kshatriyas with immense physical force and power, 21 Vaishya with prosperity, 3 Shudra with benevolence and a good manners, and 1 Sut knowing all the Purans. This is prescribed in Mahabharata. In addition to that, few chapters also discusses about the administration, law and order, and other things. that is contained in the 86th chapter about revenue collection. It is in 87th. Taxation is covered under the chapter 88. Military functions under the 100th chapter. About republics, the Mahabharata talks in 107th chapter. So specifically in some chapters, these informations are there. Mahabharata discusses the phenomena of power at length and concludes that power is more important than dharma, particularly in relation to Rajdharma, because it is only with power that the dharma could be established and affirmed. Even the relationships between the friends and foes are determined according to the power dynamics. The king has to perform all his duties according to dharma. He is forbidden to do any such things which the people with reason have denied, and he should protect the people as well as their dharma. So from the we can easily understand that these characteristics, role, duties, and functions of the king, they are described in at a great length in Shanti Parva of Mahabharata. We may safely conclude that the main duties of the king were the maintenance of Varnashram. Uh, Ashram dharma is there, where there are four varnas are there: protection of the people, establishment of rules, general principles of activities in the state, appointment of royal servants, inspection of functionaries, economic well-being, social welfare of the people of the states. So overall, yugaksham of the people. Besides all the kinds of day-to-day functions, it is analyzed and discussed in great details in the Shanti Parva of Mahabharata. I thank all of you for patient hearing.
You can take a little more time if you want to, but we can, it's up to you.
Ma'am, I would like to have more discussions.
Okay. All right, good. So, all of you are welcome to be a part for this discussion session now. Please ask any, your query, and you ask, she can, we can do that now. Thank you so much.
Can I ask question, please? Yeah, so again, thank you so much for this enlightening and very informative presentation. Thank you so much. This is the first time that I have heard the entire, Rajdharma from anyone. Thank you so much. So I have a question that did Bhishma followed his Swadharma by siding with Duryodhan, knowingly that he was not right and fighting against Pandava? So how did he justify his Swadharma by fighting against Pandava?
Thank you so much, sir, for your appreciation. And to answer the question for dharma. Sir, I'll take one example. Like, I am a teacher. So my dharma as teacher is different to my dharma as wife. My dharma as wife is different to my dharma as a child of my parents. My dharma towards my brother is different as his sister. So individual dharmas are different when we are specific to the duties. Like if we are talking with respect to other thing. Same with Bhishma when we are talking about that. He had like overall he should have been stood with the right thing. So right thing was to side with the Pandavas. But apart from that, he had many other dharma also. So with adhering to that, he respected his other dharmas. So overall, we cannot say that dharma is just one thing, because my dharma as wife can be contradictory to my dharma as teacher, and vice versa. I think you got my point.
Thank you so much.
I can add one more thing, because
In the,
is also depend on Kal and Desh and Tithi. So जो धर्म अब है वो अधर्म हो सकता है, पर let me ask you one more question related to
Can I add something here? Just in
Arunaji, there is a in the chat. Ashaji and Amitabji have posted question. Ansuyaji, if you can
Oh,
please.
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I want to say one sentence only. When Bhagwan Krishna sends Yudhishthira to learn Rajdharma from Bhishma, Bhishma says, I am not qualified, and refuses. Then Bhagwan Krishna forgives him. And then next day he goes. So Bhagwan Krishna actually forgives Bhishma and orders him to teach him Rajdharma.
Okay.
So that's in Mahabharata, right?
All right. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Someone else was, I saw one message.
Yeah, Ashaji ka question hai first, and then Amitabji ka.
Sir, first is
Dr. Nain, you spoke very well, and as someone wrote that this is the lecture or rishi to like students of politics or politicians. So you teach to political science, or what is your main subject?
Sir, ma'am, here in the Central University of Kerala, I'm teaching international relations.
Oh, political science, related to political science. Okay, very well. So my question is, I'm lost. Our pioneer, Dr. Purohit, is here. I'm joining his Gita group and many other groups also. That I think that always Rajdharma की विवेचना भी क्या है, लोगों ने अपने अपने समय और परिस्थिति के अनुकूल कर ली, जो उनको उस समय जो भाया और जो परिस्थिति के, जैसे मैंने लिखा कि धृतराष्ट्र अंधे थे, अब वो जानते थे कि दुर्योधन बहुत ही खराब है, लेकिन कोई बोलता ही नहीं था. तो व्हाट वाज दैट, यू नो? तो वो राजधर्म कहाँ हुआ? उसमें मैं टोटली लॉस्ट हूँ, बीइंग ए मॉडर्न लाइक 20th century woman. I'm not modern like modern version, but I'm saying that born in this era, कि मुझे समझ में नहीं आता कि हमेशा धर्म क्या है. Men is written by men, it is governed by men. I'm very lost. Will you elaborate some light on that?
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much for your question. Like we discussed, that dharma for individual is very different and specific to situations which he or she is tackling. And the dharma is definitely not determined by any man or any woman. It is supposed to be learned when we are living in a society. I will try to give one example. An anecdote is there. When any king, he is appointed, he is taking oath and he is sitting on the throne, then he recites a shlok that now I am victorious, and I am victorious. 3 times he says that. Then a Purohit, which is sitting near him, he takes a stick and he puts that stick on his head, and he says that it is not unrestricted. You are the king, but it is not unrestricted. So dharma is there above you. So this, whenever any ruler he is appointed, these rituals are happening. So dharma is above the king or above a person. So everyone has to follow, and it is not necessary that in Mahabharata everyone was actually following. That you have already written in your comments that Dhritarashtra, he was not speaking at many times, and he, in like visually when we saw Ramanand's Mahabharata, we saw that he was quiet and he was depressed and upset about it, but he cannot do anything. He was not in a situation to do anything. And the same with Bhishma, because he had taken oath. if we go deeper into Mahabharata, we will get to know that why he was not siding with Pandavas, but with the Kauravas.
So there are
So
many
there are
things,
so
just like he was not apradhi or anything, or they were all.
no, definitely not.
Mhm. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Very pleasant
There was a
subject Arunaji selected and you accepted to speak.
Ansuiya,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
he there, he was asking, I think I saw the text message, if he is there.
So, Ansuiya ji, I am Uma Mondal, and I listened to your presentation. It was really eye opener. That in our scriptures, they had so many rules and regulations for kings, even kings who were supposed to be the first person of the kingdom, and who is supposed to have all the luxuries and the immense power, but even he was instructed by the scriptures to follow certain rules and regulations according to his position as a king. So you have given a very wonderful presentation. In that, one of the things caught my eyes, caught my ears, that you said that 1/6 of the income of a person had to be given to the Raj Kosh, so that the kingdom can be run. So I feel that in those times, if this was implemented properly, then it was a much more, how you say, praja friendly system than nowadays, when 1/3 of the income is going for taxes. So that was one thing that I noticed, that the scriptures were there for people to follow and rule wisely, so that everyone was happy. So it is the people who digressed from this, the kings, etc., who brought the downfall of society, what I understand.
Thank you, Apurvaji, for your comments.
Yeah, I'm Uma.
Yeah, you are
The Apurva is my daughter. Actually, she has made this photo.
okay.
And
Okay.
thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
She's Apurva.
Ansuiya ji, if the time permit, just because the recording, I know it was all your, if you can take the actual verses of Mahabharata, which you gave as the quote in your quotes, and gives the explanation, the literal, so that while recording that, not say that, hey, it's a reference of what is this one. We have some time. If you can do that, it will be appreciated.
I wasn't aware that I will be meeting Hindi speaking people. That's why deliberately I didn't included the shloks. Otherwise, normally if I'm writing a paper, I include the shloks also. But I thought that it is an English audience. That's why I didn't.
I mean, if you want to share it and then go through it like 10 minutes, your paper, that will be nice also.
Yeah, shlokas are important.
Okay. Generally, our the lecture series, the presenters shares the presentations. I mean, it's just people who want to study later, there is a reference. Uske liye पूछ रहा हूँ.
So I can forward my presentation to Anna ji, and she can circulate to everyone.
I will
Thank
do
you
that.
very much for that. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
so we can go through it again.
And we are totally Hindi. Even we are 48 years here.
Ansuiya ji,
हमें
मेरा
हिंदी प्रिय है.
एक क्वेश्चन है.
अगर आप मुझे दोबारा बुलाएंगे तो मैं इस बात को ध्यान में रखूंगी और मैं और
आपको बिल्कुल बुलाएंगे. It is our pleasure to invite you again, and we will do that. So my question is to this. There is, I think, it's the 23rd sloka of Rajdharma, where he said, that king should be very partial and pure. Okay, so I think it's 23rd sloka. But the thing is, I understand, what he did with, he was took side to Parva. But I don't understand one thing he did when Draupadi was left there. So what dharma he was doing? What dharma or Rajdharma he was at that time he was doing? Because it was not a situation to do that. Neither it was a space to do it. So the thing when you say that it depends on situation, days and car. So three are against at that moment. How you will describe that to me?
Mostly when we are trying to read Mahabharata, we are in a moral dilemma.
Okay.
Mostly we tend to stick to these issues, like even in Ramayana.
Yeah.
It is Uttar Ramcharitra of Bhagavati. Here, there he has mentioned that how Ram is leaving Sita. So there are also some people question that why Ram left. He was such a Maryada Purushottam, and how he can leave his own wife. So these moral dilemmas, I don't know if they actually exist in the scriptures, or are they created by the society, by the academia? So
Yeah.
I'm not very sure about that. But these dramatic scenes are there in mostly movies and serials.
Yeah.
In
So
scriptures,
yeah, go ahead.
it is not there.
Yeah, because dharma as it is defined for human, so it is situation, cause and days and cause, right? So what happened in that situation? Nothing. He is taking side of adharma at that time. This is part. Okay. Second thing about Ramayana. So Ramayana ends or the Parishruti after the war is over. So we can get Uttar Ramayana, the interpolation and added later on. Because without Parishruti, any kavya of our Sanskrit kavya, or there is a Parishruti. Parishruti means what I get message from your this whole epic. So here I can say Uttarakhand is definitely was interpolation to destroy Ram's or Sita's character. So that is for sure. But yeah, that was my answer, and it was so nice, that I invited you